If you make around $40,000 a year, and every month feels like this constant juggling act where you're trying to pay rent, keep the lights on, maybe put a little into savings, but somehow your bank account keeps hovering around the same number. And then you open social media and see someone talking about just invest $2,000 a month or buy your third rental property, and you're sitting there thinking, with what money? If that's you, this is going to be uncomfortable, but it's also going to be freeing. Because here's the thing, you absolutely can build wealth on a $40K salary, but not the way most people think. My name is Tom, and I spend way too much time thinking about how ordinary people build real wealth. If you're someone who feels stuck living paycheck to paycheck even though you're working full time, make sure to hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Look, we need to challenge something immediately. The idea that income is the main thing that determines wealth. Is income important? Of course. But here's what most people don't realize. Wealth is way more about behavior than income. The Federal Reserve Survey of Consumer Finances consistently shows that a meaningful percentage of households making over $150,000 a year still live paycheck to paycheck. Meanwhile, there are households making under $50,000 with positive net worth and consistent investment accounts. That should mess with your assumptions. Because if income alone created wealth, high earners would automatically be rich. They're not. So let's break this down practically. If you make $40,000 a year, after taxes, you're probably taking home somewhere around $2,600 to $2,800 per month, depending on your state and benefits. Let's say it's $2,700. Now, most people hear that and immediately think, there's no room. But let's do the math slowly. Rent, $1,100. Utilities plus internet, $250. Groceries, $400. Transportation, $300. Insurance, $200, phone plus subscriptions, $150, that's $2,400. That leaves $300. Now, you might be thinking, Tom, that's assuming everything goes perfectly. Exactly. That's the point. On $40K, the margin is thin, which means the strategy has to be precise. You don't have room for sloppy money habits. And this is where psychology enters. When margins are tight, the brain goes into short-term survival mode. Behavioral economists call this scarcity mindset. Research from Princeton actually shows that when people are under financial stress, their cognitive bandwidth decreases. You literally make worse decisions when you feel broke. So when someone says, just budget better, it ignores what's happening in your brain. You're tired. You're stressed. You want relief. And relief usually looks like small spending that feels harmless. DoorDash, a new gadget, upgrading your car payment by $90 a month because I deserve something nice. Here's what most people don't realize. On $40K, small upgrades are catastrophic. Let me show you something. If you invest $300 per month at an average 8% annual return for 30 years, that grows to about $447,000. That's not millionaire status, but that's real wealth. Now imagine you increase your lifestyle by $300 instead. A slightly nicer apartment, a slightly newer car, more eating out. That decision doesn't just cost $300. It costs $447,000 of future wealth. This is where it gets really interesting. The difference between someone who stays broke on $40K and someone who builds wealth on $40K isn't how much they make. It's how they treat lifestyle inflation. Let me tell you about someone I know. We'll call her Sarah. Sarah made $38,000 working admin at a medical office. Everyone around her complained about money constantly. Every time someone got a raise, they upgraded something immediately. New car, new phone, bigger place. Sarah did something weird. She capped her lifestyle at what she needed, not what she qualified for. Every raise went 70% toward investing, 30% toward lifestyle. She automated $250 a month into a Roth IRA invested in low-cost index funds. Nothing fancy. No crypto, no day trading, no 10x stock picks. Just boring consistency. After 12 years, her investment accounts crossed $90,000. Not because she made a ton, because she didn't inflate. Now you might be thinking, okay Tom, but $250 a month feels impossible. Good. Let's shrink it. What if it's $100? $100 per month at 8% for 30 years becomes about $150,000. That's not life-changing by Instagram standards. But combine that with Social Security, maybe a paid-off house, maybe some raises over time. That's stability. And stability is underrated. Here's the mental shift. Stop asking, how do I feel rich right now? Start asking, how do I make future me powerful? Because wealth is stored decision-making power. That's all it is. Money equals options. On 40K dollar, you build wealth in 4 stages. Stage 1, control fixed costs aggressively. This is non-negotiable. Housing and transportation will determine your financial future more than lattes ever will. If you spend 50% of your take-home pay on rent, wealth becomes mathematically difficult. Can you house hack, get a roommate, live slightly farther out for 2 years? These aren't forever decisions. They're leveraged decisions. Transportation is the silent killer. The average car payment in the US is over $700 a month for new vehicles. $700 on a 40K dollar salary, that's financial suicide. If you drive a paid-off $6,000 car, instead of financing a $30,000 one, you might free up $400 a month. That $400 invested for 30 years at 8%, roughly $600,000. That's the hidden cost of a car upgrade. And here's what most people don't realize. Car payments feel small monthly, but wealth is destroyed exponentially. Stage 2, build a cash buffer before investing heavily. This is where people get it wrong. They hear invest early and skip the emergency fund. Then life happens. Tires, medical bill, job loss, and suddenly they're using credit cards at 24% interest. That wipes out years of investing gains. On 40K dollar, your first wealth goal isn't $100,000 invested. It's $3,000 to $5,000 in cash. Because stability increases your risk tolerance. When you know you won't collapse from one bad week, you think long term. Stage 3, automate investing so you don't rely on motivation. Motivation fades. Systems don't. Set up automatic transfers the day after payday, even if it's $50. Here's why this works psychologically. When money never hits your checking account, you don't experience it as loss. Behavioral finance calls this mental accounting. You adapt to what you see. Stage 4, increase income strategically, but don't depend on it emotionally. Yes, you should aim to grow beyond 40K dollar, but don't tell yourself, I'll start building wealth when I make more. That mindset delays action for years. Instead think, how do I build wealth at 40K dollar so that when I hit 55K dollar, I accelerate? Because here's the secret. If you can build wealth on 40K dollar, you become unstoppable at 60K dollar. The habits are already there. Now, let's talk about something uncomfortable. Your peer group. If everyone around you spends every dollar they make, your financial restraint will feel like deprivation. Humans are tribal. We copy behavior subconsciously. If your friends normalize car upgrades and constant spending, you will feel behind for not doing the same. This is why wealth building sometimes feels lonely. But here's the reframe. You're not depriving yourself. You're buying freedom early. Imagine being 45 with $300,000 invested while your peers are starting from zero. That gap compounds. This is where it gets really interesting. On 40K dollar, the biggest wealth lever isn't the stock market. It's time. If you start at 25 and invest $200 per month until 65 at 8%, you end up around $700,000. If you wait until 35 to start investing $200 per month, around $300,000. 10 years cost you $400,000. That's insane. And it's why starting small beats waiting for perfect conditions. Now let's address the emotional objection. But Tom, I want to enjoy my life too. Of course you do. Wealth building shouldn't feel like punishment. Here's the framework I like. Choose 3 things you spend on guilt-free. Maybe you love travel. Cool. Fund a travel sinking fund intentionally. But maybe you don't actually care about luxury cars, even though culture tells you that you should. Drop it. Intentional spending creates happiness. Accidental spending creates regret. There's research from Harvard Business School showing that spending money aligned with personal values increases happiness significantly more than status-driven spending. So the goal isn't austerity, it's alignment. If you make 40K dollar, you're likely early or mid-career, which means your greatest asset isn't your current paycheck, it's your future earning power. Here's what most people don't realize. Small skill upgrades can have massive ROI. If you spend $1,000 on a certification that increases your salary by $5,000 per year, that's a 500% annual return. Find me a stock that guarantees that. You won't. But here's the mistake people make. They upgrade lifestyle with raises instead of upgrading investments. Let's say you go from $40K to $50K. After taxes, maybe that's an extra $600 per month. If you invest $400 of that and keep $200 for lifestyle improvement, your life improves now and exponentially later. That's balanced growth. Now I want to zoom out. Because building wealth on $40K isn't flashy. You're not going to impress people quickly. But you will quietly gain something powerful. Margin. Margin reduces anxiety. Margin increases patience. Margin lets you walk away from toxic jobs. And that's where wealth becomes emotional freedom, not just numbers. You don't need to be a millionaire to feel powerful. You need options. $20,000 invested is options. $50,000 invested is serious options. $100,000 invested changes how you think about work entirely. And the wild part? The first $100,000 is the hardest. After that, compound interest does more of the lifting. At 8%, $100,000 grows by $8,000 in a year without you adding a dollar. That's $667 per month earned by money. That's when momentum becomes visible. But you only reach that if you endure the boring early years. So here's your actionable plan starting this month. 1. Calculate your exact take-home pay and fixed expenses. No guessing. 2. Lower one major fixed cost within 90 days if possible, housing or transportation. 3. Build $1,000 emergency fund fast, then push to 3 months of expenses. 4. Open a Roth IRA and automate whatever amount you can, even $50. 5. Commit that every raise will be split intentionally before it hits your lifestyle. 6. Track net worth quarterly, not daily. Quarterly, we're playing long term. Now, I want you to imagine something. It's 15 years from now. You stayed at $40K for a few years, then moved to $55K, maybe $65K. But you kept your core lifestyle stable. You invested consistently. You avoided massive debt. You're sitting on $250,000 to $400,000 invested. Your car is paid off. You have no consumer debt. Compare that to someone who made $75K the whole time but upgraded everything constantly and invested nothing. Who's wealthier? Income doesn't determine freedom. Behavior does. Look, building wealth on $40K requires intentionality. It requires ignoring social pressure. Here's what most people don't realize. Slow growth feels invisible until it isn't. Compound interest is like pushing a giant flywheel. At first you're straining. Nothing seems to move. Then one day it spins on its own. If this resonated with you, I want you to comment below with the amount you're committing to invest this month, even if it's $25. Start small, but start because the habit matters more than the amount. And if you found value here, hit subscribe. We're not chasing flashy wealth here, on purpose. Even on $40K, especially on $40K.